Yes, I have some book hauls coming up. I am sure I've lied to you in the past. Not sorry. I'm not sorry this time. Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. Yes, I'm going to have 2 book hauls this week. Hopefully this week, maybe one. There's going to be some book hauls coming. And what did I do? I did some post-holiday book shopping, and the majority of these are used. There's a couple of bargain books in here. Yeah, all of these for today's haul are nonfiction. Go figure. I don't often buy this much nonfiction, but we'll talk about that. So let me show you what I hauled. Let me see. There's a ton of them that are former library books. I only have, one of them, only one was a Christmas gift. And yeah, the other couple were bargain books. Let's just get rolling. So, one more thing to say. There's a lot of history here. And when I was in school, in high school, I didn't take a lot of history classes in college, but when I was in high school, history was probably my least favorite subject. And I did not appreciate reading or learning about history until I was much older. And so many booktubers channels are either primarily history books or nonfiction biographies, or not even primarily, but include so many great books. And I've just rediscovered a love for history and biographies and nonfiction about historical figures, whatever. So let me show you what I got. I'm looking at my pile. I probably have 14 books here. I'm not going to go into long-winded descriptions. So here we go. The first one is called Nothing Daunted by Dorothy Wickenden. Here's the cover. This is actually a former library book. I don't often find them in paperback, but yeah. This is the story of the unexpected education of 2 society girls in the West. And this is the story from 1916 of Dorothy Woodruff and Rosamond Underwood. They were kind of socialite families. They were part of socialite families in New York, and they left New York to join a group of teachers in the wilds or the wilderness of Colorado. And it's kind of, I don't know, maybe a trial by fire situation, or these 2 privileged, entitled young women finally got to see a reality that they never imagined and they never expected. So I thought that sounded really good. And I love the picture on the cover of the 2 of them on horseback, because how else would they get around? Let's see. This next book I actually bought this in person at a used bookstore for $5. And I have had this book on my TBR for years, my mental TBR. When it first came out, it was first published in 2015. When it first came out, I was so tempted to buy it. And for whatever reason, multiple times I said, no, I'm not going to do that quite yet, not yet. Well, I passed it over. And finally, I saw this in a used bookshop in almost brand new condition, and I bought it. And this is The Silk Roads, A New History of the World by Peter Frankopan. And like I said, this has been on my mental TBR for so long. And it's basically what it is, the history of the Silk Roads. This is fascinating to me. Basically, global economies and what this did for trade, the destruction it may have caused, and the progress it may have caused. So I'm really looking forward to reading what happened and how this happened, and what the Silk Road did to the world, what the Silk Roads did to the world. Let's see, where should I go next? Okay, so my daughter Clara and I have been binge watching some shows, and one of them is Young Victoria. I think it's on, what is it on, Prime or something like that? I've watched it a couple times, and it's the life of Queen Victoria from being a teenage queen through her adulthood. But I found this book called Her Little Majesty, The Life of Queen Victoria by Carolee Erickson, who, her name alone is kind of brings credibility and expertise to the topic. So I'm really, and it's not that long of a book either, but I kind of bought it based on her authorship and just being fascinated with Victoria and English royalty in general. There's some more stuff coming up. But yeah, I found this at a great price. I think it's basically brand new. I bought it used, but it doesn't look red. So looking forward to that. I keep saying that, but I look forward to all these books. Let's see, what should I show you next? This one, My Own Country, A Doctor's Story by Abraham Verghese. He is the author of, Cutting for Stone. I read that years ago and I thought it was an absolutely beautiful novel. This is a nonfiction book. It is his story of going to work in the Smoky Mountains of eastern Tennessee. And he is there, he's a young Indian doctor specializing in infectious diseases. And by necessity, he becomes the local AIDS expert. I'm dying to read his story and the context of this area of the U.S. that he worked in. In this country, especially in certain parts of the country, AIDS persecution was rampant, and prejudice and bias towards people with AIDS or even people testing positive. So really interesting perspective, and that sounds so good. Okay, let's see, another paperback former library book. This is The Invisible Wall, A Love Story That Broke Barriers by Harry Bernstein. I love this cover, this photo. This is the story of, on the eve of World War I, and it's in a small English mill town. Harry Bernstein's family is struggling to eat, to make ends meet. And let's see, it's the kind of the wall that divides Jewish people and Christian people. I'm looking at the back here. Harry's older sister basically does the unthinkable at the time. She falls in love with a Christian boy, but they're separated by an invisible wall that divides the Jewish people and the Christian people. And he kind of discovers their secret affair and needs to choose between what he's been taught his entire life and what is actually right. Again, this is another one I kept seeing online, kept being recommended to me, and I kept delaying, and finally, I saw it for a great price in just excellent condition. Was happy to grab it. All right, what else? Where should I go next? Oh, this one. This is This America, The Case for the Nation by Jill Lepore. This is a tiny, it's the size of my hand. It's a tiny little book. It's about 138 pages. This is about, it's kind of a new reckoning with America's past and talking about white nationalism and political nationalism. This was published in 2019. So, going through the Trump presidency, it's kind of explaining how liberalism and the nation state and nationalism developed together. Jill Lepore is a spectacular historian and author. She wrote the book These Truths, which is a comprehensive history of the U.S. from the 1500s before America until up to present day, not the last few years, but I think you know what I mean. So I was really eager to pick this one up when I saw it, and will be actually a quick read, but the topic is utterly fascinating to me, as is this one. Another former library book, looks like it's been uncracked. What I love about it is it's got the Mylar cover on it, which I always love. This is Fields of Blood by Karen Armstrong, Religion and the History of Violence. I have a religious background. I have a couple of theology degrees, and I also served as an associate pastor for several years, and I was a church deacon for a long time. But I am fascinated by historical religious topics, and this is one of them. How did and how does the church justify the combination of war, bloodshed, and religion. And Karen Armstrong is a fantastic author of religious topics and so many books that she's just an expert in, and was thrilled to see this. So grabbed it as soon as I could. So many of these books, I don't really want to wait to read everything, but just thinking about Nonfiction November, one of the things I'm going to do is read far more nonfiction this year, and in my vow to do that, I am signed up to judge nonfiction in the BookTube Prize for 2023, and I'm really looking forward to that. I actually can't wait. I'm just actually waiting to see if I get picked for the first round, the octofinals, so we'll see. This one is another book, a political commentary, from a political commentator, Blowout by Rachel Maddow. This is another book that when it came out, I was really looking forward to reading it. Bought a used former library book that was basically unread. Big Oil and Gas versus Democracy, Winner Takes All. I like Rachel Maddow's humor and her attitude and her personality, and really was, again, interested in reading this when it first came out. But what the oil and gas industry has to do with American politics and the amount of intermingling, infuriating. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, and let's see, a few more. This is the one that was a gift on my wish list for Christmas, and I got this for a lot of different reasons. This is the Dolphin Letters, 1970 through 1979, Elizabeth Hardwick, Robert Lowell, and Their Circle. This is a chunky one. During Shorty September, I read books by Elizabeth Hardwick and Carolyn Blackwood and realized their connection with Robert Lowell, a very tortured, mentally ill poet. And this is just fascinating. And my husband bought this off of my wish list. These are letters between Lowell and Elizabeth Hardwick, who he left for Caroline Blackwood, but in his later years, immediately before his death, went back to, and they became best friends. So there's a lot of intermingling, a lot of relationship dynamics there. A couple more. My daughter and I were binge watching The Crown, which I had already seen several times. And I bought two books that have to do with Princess Margaret. This one is Elizabeth and Margaret, The Intimate World of the Windsor Sisters by Andrew Morton, a famous royal biographer, and 99 Glimpses of Princess Margaret by Craig Brown. And she's a fascinating character. Okay, two more about royalty, different royalty this time. And let's see. I have two books by Richard K. Massey, not really coincidental. Here, this is another author with so much credibility, expertise, credentials to write about Russian history and he's written all kinds of history books about royalty, people in historical times. This is Nicholas and Alexandra by Robert K. Massey. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and this is basically sweeping the reader back to Imperial Russia to tell the story of the Romanovs' lives, Nicholas's political naivete, and Alexandra's obsession with the corrupt mystic Rasputin. This is the first of the Massey books that I have purchased. My daughter Clara, God love her, she is so interested in so many things, and Russian history is one of them. So I thought, you know what, this popped up, and I thought, I'm going to pick that up. This could be really interesting. Also has lots of pictures in the middle of it. And then the other one is The Romanovs, the final chapter. This is a former library book, hardcover, unread. It's like unread. So the combination of these should be, and they both have pictures in them. So fascinating topics. I can't wait to get to all of these. So I gotta slow myself down. I have so many good books to choose from on a regular basis, but adding these to my nonfiction collection, which is fairly sparse, this is gonna bulk it up so much, and there's so much good material here. One more book. I think last year or the year before, I read the book The Butchering Art by Lindsay Fitzharris. I found this one, The Facemaker by Lindsay Fitzharris. This is not about cosmetic surgery the way you and I would think about it on a Hollywood stage. This is the subtitle is A Visionary Surgeon's Battle to Mend the Disfigured Soldiers of World War I. So if you've ever taken the time or seen pictures, photos of the facial disfigurements and mutilations that soldiers suffered after World War I, during World War I, because of the lack of medical advances, the lack of methods and procedures to repair people's bodies. The pictures are pretty graphic, and you can really see what soldiers endured. And this is her book, her research on the plastic surgeon that started advancements in this type of repair. This is Harold Gillies, was a Cambridge-educated New Zealander, and he became interested in the field of plastic surgery after encountering the human wreckage on the battlefield. So I have not been able to wait to get to this one. When I found out that this was out there, when was this published? This was published in brand new 2022. I believe this is in the BookTube Prize list. I'm not sure. I hope it is because it's a 2022 publication, and I can't wait to find out if I get to read this. So that's my nonfiction book haul. Really super awesome. My next book haul is going to be fiction, and most of those are also used books. There's only like 2 new books here. But they're not brand new, they're bargain books. Even Facemaker I found on Book Outlet for maybe $7, $8. So that was a bargain price. Everything else is a used book or former library books, still means used. So on that note, one of the biggest reasons why I love buying used library books, besides the fact that I'm supporting libraries, is so many times it's a used book, but many of these books were unread. They maintained these books for a long time on their shelves, and eventually libraries will start to unhaul books that either nobody's read or that become so old and dusty that nobody's going back to them. And that's when people like me score, because I'm buying used books that used to be a former library book that nobody ever checked out. So to me, they're brand new. And I love that. I love finding those jackpots like that. That's it for me for this book haul. Stay tuned for my fiction book haul. And then after this first month of the year, my hauls will be tapering off. I have talked about that before. But I could not pass these up after, getting money for Christmas and not really buying a lot of stuff for myself before the holidays. So these make me very, very happy. And that's all that counts, right? Let me know in the comments below what you think, and I'll see you in the next video, the next haul video. Bye, everybody.